Hello, guys. This is the return of ASMR Diesel, and this is another POI. I'm apologizing for the interruption because these Negroes here in front of me distracted me, seeing their faces that you guys can't see. But going forward, subject of discussion today is that of plot twist. Our resident writing expert, Professor E, could you do the audience a favor and let them know what exactly are plot twists?
Right on. So basically a plot twist is any moment, typically at the end of the second act or into the third act of a movie, that goes against what you believe is the norm for the story. So say, for example, you think the movie is going to go right, keep going, turning right, and all of a sudden turn left. That's the simplest basic idea of a plot twist, to go against your expectations.
Okay, then, to continue with our normal questioning when it comes to these topics, we're going to go to Lelouch. Lelouch, would you say that plot twists are majority positive in your sense or negative?
They're majority positive unless your name is M. Night Shyamalan, and then you got maybe half a good plot twist, and then the rest of them aren't. I mean, anytime that you can truly capture the audience's attention and misdirect them away from what you're actually doing with your plot, I feel like that's a success. But as long as it makes sense anyway. I mean, if you can do that without just completely upsetting your entire audience, it's a success. And if you're not, it's M. Night Shyamalan.
So to continue on, as far as giving the audience who may not be familiar with the concept of plot twist, Ethan, could you give the audience a couple examples that you believe would be more universally known?
Mm-hmm, of course. I mean, the biggest one Otis just referenced or, kind of alluded to, which is spoiler alert for The Sixth Sense by M. Night Shyamalan. They set up the whole time that a character can see dead people, and this main character is alongside another character the whole time, and because we're seeing the story primarily from both of their points of view, we never even consider the idea that one of the characters we're seeing is a dead person. Turns out, in fact, that character is, and and if you go back through the film, you see so many signs pointing directly to that. The fact that this character never talks to anybody else. This character only interacts with one specific character. He only wears the same outfit. He never really opens doors. Or it's a lot of things. Wait a minute. It all points directly to that. Also, the fact that he's told into his face by the other character, "I see dead people." When this character sees him throughout the movie, he seems horrified. If you actually go back and watch the small kid's reaction to seeing Bruce Willis earlier on in the movie, he doesn't look happy to see him. He looks actually afraid of him. And there's a reason for that. He's actually a ghost. He's a dead man. So that's an example of a twist that works really well. You set it up. There's all kinds of evidence to support it. And in the end, based off the rules of the world, it makes sense. It's there. But the audience didn't see it coming. I've talked to several people, and 99% of the people didn't know that the main character in The Sixth Sense was dead until the movie specifically said, by the way, he's dead.
I was one of those people, but I mean, again, if we're talking about the good title from M. Night, I mean, that is definitely the one.
You didn't like The Last Airbender?
Okay, we can answer that. We can end this podcast right now. The podcast, not this episode. I mean, this podcast.
I mean, before you even get to The Last Airbender, you get, the village, you get signs, you get
A Happening.
Oh my God! That was after Last Airbender, but still.
Old.
Yeah.
Old was alright. I thought Old was okay.
I haven't seen that one yet. I heard the dialogue from it. We're getting off topic, but yeah. Glass. Yeah. The thing was, so the twist. Talking about Glass, though. What was the flick before that? Oh, it was
not Split.
No. Was it Split? It may have been Split because it was the one leading into Glass, right? Where we see the characters.
McAvoy's character?
It's our boy McAvoy, right? Doing his thing. And the twist.
I think it was Split.
I think it's called Split, right? Yeah, Split. Mm-hmm. The twist with that film is that, this is in the same universe as the world of Unbreakable. So these are basically metahumans or superpowered characters. And that twist actually worked. The idea that because it's just in the same universe, this isn't some regular dude. This is actually a super villain in the making. This actually has a power, essentially. So that's an example of a twist coming that it makes sense based off the idea of this is canon with another movie. There's evidence supporting it. So it is a twist. One of the twists that M. Night did that actually does work, bizarrely enough.
So we've gone through a couple.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have that set up and then your payoff is glass.
Yeah, But part of that though is the fact that some of the actors didn't want to show up to work, and so it's another thing. But
so we've given a bunch of details as to why plot twists are indeed positive and benefit narrative. Otis, as our residential hater here, be a dear and tell us why plot twists are negative and when they hurt a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you do not set that up well, and there aren't breadcrumbs that lead to your inevitable change in direction, that's usually bad. Like, anytime you get swing away, I mean, I wouldn't call it. That's not a plot twist. I'm just bashing M. Night at this point. But
yeah, I mean, swing away is terrible.
It sounds like you want to throw hands with this man.
A little bit.
Oh shit.
But no, I mean, getting more serious here. Yeah, anytime that you have a shift in the belief of an audience and it doesn't pan out well, that it kind of ruins the movie. I mean, you see that happen in like horror movies often. You see that happen in murder mysteries often, where they try to set up a red herring, quote unquote, and then they suddenly it's this other character that was not even mentioned in the movie. He was just like delivering packages in the background, and it's like, oh, it was him. Scooby-Doo. But
I think that's actually a term now too. It's like a Scooby-Dooing it or something like that, isn't? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talked about this in the past, as far as the plot armor thing, do you guys feel as though a positive plot twist can happen by mistake, almost? Like if you're writing a story and you get near the end and you have this built-in narrative, all you have to do is go back and make sure there are points within your story that matches up at the end. Could you do that, or do you need to be a lot more precise and meticulous about where you're building up evidence? Like, is it something hard to implement, you would say?
Well, it's definitely hard, but it's one of those things. It's something that I talked to Otis and a friend of the show, Stan Thomas, about, is that there's nothing wrong with writers don't write linearly. We in a straight line. Writing is much more of a patchwork. So oftentimes you may have the idea may come to you as far as like, I may want to have it where, wouldn't it be cool if it turns out this person that's been doing all these things is in fact the villain himself? He's trying to stop someone from doing horrible things, and turns out he's the one doing it. That could be fun. How to make a movie about that? And you kind of try to go kind of retrofit or reverse engineer, how that could work. Like Fight Club, for example. Spoiler alert for Fight Club, where it turns out that they're one and the same characters. And I know for a fact when it comes to those kinds of scripts, they will go back and make sure that they change these around and make sure there are breadcrumbs there that add up. Mm-hmm. With The Sixth Sense, for example, that screenplay, which I read a while ago, there aren't nearly as many things pointing out the idea that the main character is in fact dead. There's a couple times where almost there's some gaps where you see him like opening a door, or you see him sitting down talking to almost like sitting down with a person, and he's like nodding his head like having a conversation. It's the little things that don't quite add up. And when they made the movie, they removed those parts, so it actually it flows more seamlessly. So it is the job of the filmmaker or storyteller to make sure that the breadcrumbs do add up properly, that they are logical. As Otis mentioned, when you have a situation where the twist is unsatisfying or doesn't make sense or it wasn't set up properly, it can undercut the entire film. It can make everything. People can be completely upset about it. For example, Unbreakable, the movie Unbreakable, which I enjoy. I know a lot of folks were upset by that. The idea that Sammy J was the villain. It was an unsatisfying twist for most people. So you have to be careful with how you do your twists.
Mm-hmm. So Otis, would you say like how many plot twists would be a bad thing, or is there an unlimited amount? Because when I say that, I'm thinking about a movie like a Bullet Train almost, where you introduce all these characters and there are so many twists that change a character's motivation, or you reveal a backstory that may affect this character's relationship. And it's a bunch of different things meant to surprise an audience throughout it. But for me, I don't think that was a bad film. I enjoyed that film. Maybe people may feel differently, but that kind of brings into question, like, can there be too many plot twists that affect the story? Or as long as they're done right, can you have an infinite amount?
I mean, at this point, plot twists are so meta. Like, you expect to see one or two of those in medium right now if it's going to be mainstream. So I mean, as long as the story adds up to something that makes sense in the end, you can throw as few or as many in as you want. But again, if it doesn't make sense, or if you're breaking your own canon by the time you get to the end of that movie, you failed it. It's as simple as that.
And Ethan, as far as that goes, with like Otis said about having too many or too less, do you feel like it's kind of a requirement to have one in a story, or can you have an excellent, straightforward story without a plot twist and it still be great?
Well, sure. You definitely can have a story without a plot twist and for it to be pretty good. But typically, the way I was taught was to essentially the whole 3-act structure, or even the 4-act structure now, you're going to have some kind of a twist or some kind of a subversion. Even with short form storytelling, like episodes of TV shows, things will happen that way, where it'd be like I guess usually as they go to the break for the second commercial break, things will happen times. So it'd be like, oh my gosh, we thought these are going this way, and actually no, it's now this little thing happened. I thought I was going to the prom with Denisha, and it turns out no, it's my boy Lamar is actually it's going to take her. Dun dun dun. It's these things happen, so you kind of want some kind of an exciting twist to happen to kind of keep the audience interested in the story. But you can have stories that are in and of themselves are so engaging throughout that they don't necessarily need a big twist to happen. I would argue that in a big sense, something like maybe Creed, which is a good movie, doesn't really have a twist. The biggest twist would be essentially that, spoiler alert for Creed, one of the characters gets cancer, but it's not really a twist as much as it's a plot point, and they deal with it. There is no real actual twist in that story. The story is the journey of a main character, and he goes through it from point A to point Z, more or less. So you can definitely, it can work both ways. The problem may happen where you have, like Otis was referring to, where you have so many twists that they stop making sense. Also, they let each twist you have lessens the impact of the story. So you got to be careful with that. Bullet Train is a movie where
Law and Order.
Yeah.
All right, we don't do no Law and Order slander around here, okay? That show has LeBron longevity. Let's not do that.
It's easy. It's been out since before you were born. Yeah, way before you were born. But you mentioned like Bullet Train, for example. That the idea with that is it's not so much plot, big twist. It's kind of meant to be, the story is going back and forth. So it's designed. That's the nature of that story. You don't know which way you're going. It's not like you wait to the very end. It's like dun dun dun. This one big thing happens. There's small things happening throughout it, so to speak. So it's by design. It depends on how you are handling your material, and if you're handling with the kind of the deft hand.
I can see that. I argue the other way. Just for me, if I sat down, I could probably count them up. Like, I think some of the ones that obviously come to mind first and foremost would be like the one of the reveal that the person that, well, spoiler alert for people that haven't seen Bullet Train, I advise you to go see it. I thought it was a great movie. But like in the very beginning of the film, when the father goes to find the woman or the person that pushed his son off a building, you find it's a little girl. Stuff like that, to where it's not necessarily a really long built plot twist. It's like a quick one, but I'd still consider something like that a plot twist. And I feel like there's a bunch of those throughout that film where they're just like little quick hitters, where a character or even that of the poison mercenary assassin, like that being the girl inside the costume the whole time, or even being Zazie Beetz, stuff like that, where it's just like a quick little plot twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's almost like an example of the unreliable narrator, where like the sequence of events in the story, like they don't even know what's happening, so you can't know until they do, essentially.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Which we're gonna. By the way, we gotta do a POI on unreliable narrators another time. But that's a perfect example of this right there. Another thing I want to mention real quickly is how oftentimes in long form storytelling like anime, they can pull off a good twist. The quintessential twist in storytelling oftentimes in anime is a Hunter x Hunter in the Chimera Ant arc, where Gon goes F it and pretty much goes dark side as opposed to him going to the light. That's a bit of a twist. In the Star Wars prequels, even though we knew where it was heading, if you watch those movies, especially if you watch it with young people that don't know what's going to happen later on, the idea of Anakin becoming going to the dark side and Obi-Wan striking down his brother, that could be a twist. In the original trilogy, when Vader was revealed to be his dad, spoiler alert, that was a twist as well. So you can set up twists to be later on in the story that work really well too.
For me, at least for Star Wars, the prequels in particular, the biggest one for me was partially Anakin becoming Vader, but it was like him killing the younglings, because they show you in like previous parts of the series like his tendency to like take young people under his wing and like care for young kids, probably because he was a young slave himself. So for him to have all that stuff and then go to murdering like all of the ones that he probably cared for, because I think a lot of the kids, I think somebody said like,
fuck them kids.
Yeah, like they said Master Anakin, like they had a relationship with him. He was like literally like Otis had fuck them kids, and this. Oh man! Side note: have you seen like that VR animator of like you getting to be Anakin? Like,
I don't want to do Jesus. I don't want to do that. It's the darkest I've ever heard in my life.
It was really dark. Oh, my
I don't want to do that at all. Not even a little bit. No.
It was pure comedy.
It was hilarious.
Jesus. Well, they even show that. They show in like the Obi-Wan's the Kenobi series where they show like the kids that were during orders with 66, right?
Yeah, 66.
It showed them, Anakin and all of them going in there. It's like, yeah, it's horrible.
Shadows? I thought they cut it off screen like shadows for Obi-Wan.
But you don't see Anakin doing it, but you see as far as the younglings trying to survive, and one of our characters she has to survive that type of thing. And they do show in the Clone Wars cartoon series Anakin having a relationship with the younglings training. So it's like he definitely knew them when they were kids. Like that is. Could you imagine that? Like a kid you babysat, like, oh yeah, by the way, I got to kill you later on. It's like that's
like, what up, Charlie? I'm like, fuck you, little nigga.
Yeah. God damn, man, that's horrible. But let me ask you this, Otis, real quick, because I'm not sure, Charlie, if you've seen it yet. In the Lord of the Rings, do you consider it a twist that Frodo doesn't throw the ring?
Let me take my headset off. I don't want to spoil this shit.
Okay.
Actually watch it. give me a thumbs up when you're done. Go ahead.
My bad. Otis, do you consider it a twist in Lord of the Rings that Frodo doesn't throw the ring in there? That he gets there right to it, has it in his hand, then he smiles and says no.
Okay, so that one I'm torn on, because like, I mean, to a degree, like it's a twist because like, you know, they set up his character as the happy-go-lucky, uncorruptible, you know, hobbit that's on this grand mission. But like, you see him get more enamored by the ring as the series progresses. So like, when he gets to that final moment, I was just like, it made sense to me, but I can't see how some people can see that as a plot twist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll from my
okay.
All right. All I'll say is from my perspective, it's there's no twist here, no information, Charlie. Just from my perspective, when I saw the movie in the theater, because I didn't know how the books played out. When he got there and did what he did, I was like, shit. So I consider it more or less somewhat of I do consider it a twist, and it did hit me like, damn it. So yeah.
I was like, I'm not watching them long ass movies. Knowing what's gonna happen, because I will turn that shit off so fast. Watch this 3-hour long movie, and I know what's gonna happen at the end. Fuck that shit. Yeah. But yeah, this has been another POI. Do you guys have any other closing remarks on that plot twist before we get out of here?
The biggest thing, if you're, you say some others?
Good.
No, just to any aspiring writers, creators, filmmakers, storytellers, if you want to have a twist in your story, just try to make sure that it does make sense, that it adds up. Don't try to pull something out of left field, out of nowhere. That's like, wait a minute, that's you're reaching, because your audience won't be satisfied. It has to make sense on some level. It just has to.
Yeah, my biggest advice is to watch those M. Night movies, drill those mistakes into your brain so you can just know to never do those things.
They're so contrived. It's like, they're way too contrived.
Specifically, The Last Airbender. Watch that really hard.
No,
don't not
take
that
notes.
one.
Take notes. Record it.
Oh yeah.
Watch footage.
I don't want that to influence you. Please ignore the advice that C-Dizzle just gave. If you have not seen it, consider yourself a lucky individual.
Oh man,
God, that is offensive.
Okay, well, guys, this has been another POI. For people that don't know, point of interest. We're going to be doing more of these coming up. Like we have done a couple of them up to this point. If you guys are interested in any past topics we've discussed, like plot holes, character arcs, things of that nature, you can find them in the playlist that is appropriately put below this video. Thank you guys so much. This has been your boy C Diesel, Luce V, and King of the Comics, Professor E, Ethan Murphy, and this is the Then Podcast. Peace.
What if it was a twist that POI stood for like pancakes?
It's not poi. It's not poi.
Yeah, twist.